6:01. I call this meeting to order of the Somerton Planning and Zoning Commission. Roll call, please.
Daniel Flores.
Present.
Ronald Rice.
Present.
Lorena Sendeja. Ms. Sendeja.
I think, you know what, I think the microphone is way too far.
Ms. Sendeja, can you turn your microphone on, please? Ms. Sendeja. Lorena, can you turn your microphone on, please?
We're doing the roll call right now. The audio is not all that great, but we called Miss Sendeja's name. Can you just say present?
Present, I didn't hear her.
That's okay. Yeah,
I can hear you sound. I can hear you sound, but I can't hear the rest.
what can we do?
Catela Duranquel.
Present.
Maybe he needs to turn on his mic. Are the microphones on?
Yes. The main microphone that we're using for this though is right next to the podium. Yes.
Arturo Magaña.
Arturo Magaña.
Present.
Rita Ford, Ms. Sendeja.
May we stand for the pledge, please?
There we go.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That brings us to item number 3, approval minutes from regular meeting on December 16, 2020.
I make a motion to approve the minutes, please. Second the motion.
It's been moved and second to approve the minutes from the meeting on December 16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. At this time, this brings us to call to the public. As it stands, the doors are closed. I don't see none or hear none. At this time, we'd like to welcome Mr. Magaña to the Planning and Zoning Commission, as it is his first meeting. I don't know if he wishes to say any words or anything, but welcome from the chairman and the rest of the commissioners.
Yeah, the audio is a little... Can we move the microphone maybe closer to them, do you think?
I could put another line to Zoom meeting to council members.
Yes. There we go. Okay. So we, commissioners, we just set up another microphone closer to the rest of the commission so that you can have a better feed on your end for audio.
Thank you.
Do you want me to repeat?
That's.
Okay, so that point, this brings us to item number 1. Rezoning case number PLN 19-00016.
His mic, the one over there by the rest of the commissioners, their mic needs to be muted. No?
Yes, all right. So I'm going to do the presentation of the first item. which I would like to just clarify. It's actually a conditional use permit, not a rezoning. Sorry, but I'm just going to jump right into the staff report here. And
Excuse me, before you go any further.
yes,
This says case number 20 dash whatever it is, 02. This one says it's 19, the one that you just read. There's two different case numbers. So which number are we gonna use?
it would be the correct case number, Mr. Rice. I do apologize for that too. I think the whole case number and the description, the title of it is from an older case, but the case itself is for a conditional use permit, and the case number, which is on the staff report itself, not the agenda, is
Okay.
PLN 20. Yes, it's PLN 20-0002.
That's fine.
I do apologize for that, but the subject is correct. Yes, the title is not, but the subject is correct. So we are. This is a conditional use permit. Oh, and just to point out to the commission, the applicant is not here for this meeting. Well, obviously because we don't have it's not open to the public, but also I tried reaching out to her, and the Precious Treasures is closed right now, so nobody's working, and they were unable to send a representative for this particular case. So it's typical that the applicant does have to be present for these cases, and so I'm going to ask: is that okay with the commission for us to proceed with this?
That's fine.
Yes. Okay. So this is a conditional use permit request by Liliana Uribe on behalf of Precious Treasures Missions to allow the operation of a daycare center located at 115 North Columbia Avenue in the MSC Main Street Corridor Mixed-Use Zoning District as required by Zoning Ordinance Section 2.4.4, Table 2.4-1, Table of Allowed Uses in the Mixed-Use District. This is it's around the corner of Main and Columbia Avenue. Right now it's just a building. It has, I think, 2 or 3 suites, and it's currently being used as an office for the mission, and they also are running an after-school program. For geographic reference, I'm going to pull up a map. Are the rest of the commission, are they able to see this?
The ones on the Zoom meeting?
Yes.
Yes, they could see the background.
Okay, perfect. So I'm sharing the screen? Or are they just seeing this, looking straight at, I see. Okay,
You want to share the screen?
yeah, that'd be great. And I do appreciate your patience and your understanding, Commission. It's just that this is the first time we try out this platform for one of these meetings. And
There we go.
practice makes perfect, right? I'm sure if we have to do this, hopefully we don't have to do another one of these so remote. But if we have to do it again, the next one will be really smooth. So for geographic reference, this is the property right here on the intersection of Main and Columbia. It's a zone Main Street corridor, so yeah, they have to get this conditional use permit. And a daycare center, the biggest thing about a daycare center compared to a daycare home is that a daycare center doesn't have a limit of how many kids they can have, or how many. Well, you know, we've had the adult daycares too, but in this case, it is for kids. There's no limit on how many they can have. It's determined by how big your building is. You need to have at least 100 square feet of outdoor play area per child, no less than 1,200. So if they don't even have the 1,200, it can't be a daycare center. They do have that, at least, and it's also regulated by the parking, and that's really determines how many kids you can have. In this case, they have 2,500. I'm going to show you a site plan. They have about 2,500 square feet of outdoor area that's going to be used for the recreation, and they have 19 parking spaces. So with these two things, we determined that the maximum number of children they would be allowed to have at any given time would be 25. That is the capacity of the building, as following what the zoning ordinance calls to per child. Even with the other uses, though, the parking staff still found that the parking would be adequate because the other uses wouldn't coincide. The operation would not coincide. The after-school program and the daycare would not operate at the same time. And the office it's a small little office. It's not going to be their main office. Okay. So we sent out. Actually, before I move on, do we have any questions so far from the commission? Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Several years ago, I believe we had already approved a conditional use permit or something similar. Did that ever take place?
No, Mr. Chairman, there was another conditional use permit which was under a different ownership. The previous petitioner sold the property to registrators, and now they are requesting this conditional use permit to run with the land. Every time there is a change of ownership, they will have to come and request if there is a conditional use.
But that one never did come to fruition, right?
No, they had some issues obtaining their certifications, their approval, the approvals from the state.
No,
And I think
okay.
that's what prevented them from moving.
All right.
Thank you, Carmen. Okay, well, I'm going to proceed to the exhibits. So, the exhibits are over here. Nope, they were actually over there. So as required by the zoning ordinance, in order for the commission to approve this conditional use permit, there are 9 findings that must be answered affirmatively, meaning that staff believes that the project and the proposal are in compliance and they can be answered, answer the questions affirmatively. And staff found that it does meet all the criteria. All the answers 1 through 9 are a yes. I'm sure you've already had the chance to go over them. Does the commission have any questions on them? And that would be Exhibit A that I'm talking about. Okay, then I will proceed to Exhibit B, which is the request for comments from the public. We received 3 responses from the request for comments when we sent this out. MCAS said that the proposal is compatible with their, they cited, I guess, one of their codes here, Marine Corps order this 11.0.110.36, so they're okay with it. They're not objecting to it. The only thing they said is that the facility must be sound attenuated to 25 decibels, and that'll be something that we will include in our plan review once they submit because One of the conditions of approval is going to be they have to meet all the codes and requirements of the city of Somerton, but for a process like this will be included in that review. They have to reduce the sound level to 25. And then the county, Javier Barraza, said that it is not mentioned if the building in its entirety will be used for the proposed daycare center. However, it appears that the parking lot will be sufficient and the circulation in and out of the facility will not raise any safety issues since it won't be on Main Street on the south. And staff does concur with that point, that the parking is sufficient, that it's not going to raise any safety issues, and that it's not going to significantly impact traffic because of, I don't know if you read this in the staff report, but they only needed about 11 parking spaces at its peak, and they have about 19. So it's adequate parking, everything's fine. So staff concurs with that comment. And as far as if the whole building will be used for a daycare, it could be. Again, it's regulated by their outdoor play area and how many parking spaces they have. So if they can somehow fit 20, if they wanted to use the whole building, they'll still only be capped at 25. But they haven't submitted a scaled, detailed interior layout plan, and that'll come in the building safety plan review phase. And then comment number 3, it also comes from the county. It is highly recommended that an accurately scaled site plan is submitted prior to the SUP, which in our case the CUP, taking effect. The site plan will ensure maximum parking, vehicular flow is adequate and complies with the minimum development standards of the zoning code. So again, another mention of parking, and we're good to go there. Parking is not an issue. Circulation is not an issue either, and that's what staff has to say about that. Exhibit C, it's just location. This is the building right now. Any questions so far? Yes, sir.
Going back to this conditions of approval, it's 10 of them. Why do they have 2 years to get all of this done? That just seems like a long time.
Yes.
Is that normal?
I actually I was getting to those. I was about to get to the conditions of approval. The reason that we include that condition in there, or we're starting to include it in there now, is because we'd like to see these projects get off the ground. I don't know if you remember, we approved a conditional use permit right next door for a group care home in the church.
Right.
This was, I believe, in 2018. Well, it's been almost 2 years and it's still sitting there. Nothing's happened. So we're trying to just get things moving, because if we're going to actually, Carmen, do you know where that originated?
Mr. Chair, is that providing a time frame for them it's important. That way we can see, as we just mentioned, initiate the process, but also we sometimes, and it just happened to us recently with the approval of new construction codes. There are some projects that were approved with the old set of codes. Now we have new codes, and that's when we have these situations where we need to now allow them to continue with the old codes, with the new codes. So I think it's important to have a time frame. It may not necessarily be 2 years. So we think also providing a timeline, but being somewhat flexible with the time. And we believe 2 years is more than enough time to have any issues with the building safety portion, with the state certifications, and if the business is going to come to fruition, we believe that 2 years is plenty of time. It will be up to the commission to recommend less of a time frame, or perhaps a wider time frame. For us in the department, we believe 2 years is a good time frame for a business to start.
Okay, it just seemed excessive to me, but maybe that is a reasonable number.
And sometimes, Mr. Rice, the state requires approval from the city, it requires that they have a list of regulations that they need to provide, and sometimes the cost is not, it is prohibited, so they have to start little by little. Once they obtain the city approval, they need to go to the state. The state has their own list of requirements that they need to put into the building, so that takes time and money sometimes for the applicant. So we believe that it's a good time frame. Again, it's our recommendation. If the commission thinks otherwise, we can discuss a different time frame.
Thank you.
Right. Well, I am going to, well, since we're on that note there, I'll just read the rest of the conditions of approval that staff has. Actually, well, staff recommendation for this permit is approval with conditions. And the conditions, well, let me get to those now. Number one, applicant must comply with all local, state, and federal requirements and regulations for the establishment of a daycare center use. 2, applicant must comply with all applicable building, zoning, safety, fire, and health codes and policies. Number 3, applicant shall obtain all necessary state licenses and certifications prior to applying for a business license, part of condition number 1. Number 4, applicant shall obtain a City of Somerton business license for the operation of a daycare center prior to commencing operation. It's covered by condition 1 as well. 5, applicant must retrofit building to achieve sound attenuation to 25 decibels. That's as required by MCAS. Number 6, applicant must remove all excessive weeds and grasses in the parking lot and in the retention of the subject property, 115 North Columbia. This shall be subject to a zoning inspection prior to beginning operation. Applicant shall maintain the property free of invasive weeds and grasses for the lifetime of the daycare center. Number 8, applicant must mark the nearest 5 parking spaces to the entrance of the daycare center as reserved for daycare use from operation hours. So whatever time that their the day hours are going to be, if it's going to be 8 in the morning to 6 p.m., 5 parking spaces need to have a little sign or something indicating that those are for exclusive use of the daycare center. And that is a requirement from the zoning ordinance. Number 9, applicant must initiate construction permit process if required within 180 days of the issuance of this conditional use permit or request an extension in writing to the Community Development Department. So they have 6 months to apply for if turns out they are going to be required some remodeling or something that triggers a building permit if required, as it says. They have 6 months to apply, not to finish, just to apply, and or request an extension in writing to the Community Development Department requesting. The last condition, applicant must begin operation of a daycare center and comply with all of the conditions of approval within 2 calendar years of the approval of this conditional use permit. Any questions or comments?
So when does the clock start for the 2 years?
Commissioner Sendejas, the chairman had a question as well. So let me. Sorry, he asked if when does the clock start ticking? Well, the way it's worded right now, the clock would start ticking upon approval of this conditional use permit. So if it's approved tonight, tomorrow I will send a letter to the applicant saying your permit was approved. Here are your conditions of approval. So the clock would start ticking tomorrow, April 22nd. And you had no, not this. This is approved here. Commissioner Sendejas, did you have a question?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Should he also be checking up to see if they are going to get the necessary licenses from the state?
Commissioner Sendejas, yes. The city will require a copy of their state documentation as part of condition number one. Yeah, there is a certain license that they have to get from the state. I was speaking with the applicant and they're working on it, but some of the requirements for them to get their license is to get this permit first. So once they get this permit, they can apply for the state license, finish that process, and then they'll bring us back a copy, and then we'll use that for our records to issue the business license. And but we will check for that. It's a part of condition number one, and it's also, I believe, stated in the zoning ordinance that they have to provide, specifically identifies that particular license for us to issue the business license. So yes, we will. Any other questions from the commission? Okay, well, that concludes my presentation. There is a recommended motion by staff. And you can approve this permit with the conditions as read, or you can opt to perhaps make a modification if it's something that you see as adequate. But staff recommendation is approval of the conditional use permit, PLN 2020-0002 with conditions, and all the conditions are in Exhibit A.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve case number PLN 20-0002 with all the conditions presented.
I second that motion.
It's been moved and second to approve the motion. All those in favor? Aye.
Thank you. Yeah, put the Zoom screen back on.
Moving on to item number 2, presentation on the current 2020 general plan update.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chairman, and members of the Planning and Zoning Commission. We have the 2020 general plan update process continue, and it's moving forward. The review period ended on March 22nd, and tonight we have Matt Kleisico from Michael Baker Consulting Firm, and he will be giving us a presentation and an update of the process. After his presentation, staff will be asking the Planning and Zoning Commission to issue your recommendation to the City Council. So if you don't have any questions, I would like to present Matt Kleisico. Can you hear us, Matt?
Thank you, Carmen. I'm just going to go ahead and share my screen. Okay, is everyone able to hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. So thank you for mentioning, and for any of those at home and the general public listening to us tonight, thanks for joining us in this very unique situation. It's unfortunate that I can't be there in person, but tonight is a very important time in terms of the general plan update process. As Carmen mentioned, our goal or purpose for tonight's meeting is to really give you a broad overview of all the work that is in the 2020 general plan. And then through that process, hopefully prepare the commission to make a recommendation to the City Council at their next meeting, next month, I should say, for final consideration for place on the November ballot for approval by the voters. Just as a recap, I know that the commission is very familiar with the general plan, but for any that may be watching at home or listening, general plan is a state mandated document. It is really the foundational roadmap for the community. So it really identifies the future goals and vision that the community is working towards, and sets the community up to not try to identify goals and policies to achieve that future vision, but also make sure that current decisions are with that future idea. So as you can imagine, being a state mandated plan, it also has specific requirements that go along with the general. So you can see on this current slide, along the side there, we've identified the specific topics or elements that the general must address. So we have to look at land use, growth areas, circulation, parks and open space, environmental planning, cost of development, water resources. Now, the previous general plan also looked at neighborhoods, public facilities, and services. So those were elected elements that we maintained in this most current update. But in addition to those, we also included one more that is not existing. So it's a brand new element for this current general plan, and that's economic development. I think it's a very worthwhile element to add, given a lot of the feedback we've heard through the process and the focus that the town has already been making in that arena. So the overall process of the general plan, we started this back in September of 2019. It's been a very rapid process in terms of how the general plan typically, general plan updates, I should say, typically evolve. We began with our recognized kickoff and GPAC meeting along with community outreach, finalizing a community baseline assessment. And that baseline assessment is just an effort that we go through to look at existing data to not only make sure that we're listening to the public, but also looking at census information and any other data that might be available from the county or state agencies to understand how the community is growing and projected to grow. From there, we moved into our enrich phase, and that phase is where we actually drafted the general plan elements. Following the preparation of the elements, as Carmen mentioned, we then moved into our state-mandated 60-day review period. That period is really where we put our pens down, let the plan sit, and let adjacent agencies and state departments review the plan and feed us any information or suggested edits. Following that 60-day review plan, we're able to then make any of those edits that we identify as being beneficial to meeting the desired vision of the community and bring the plan forward to the Planning Commission for consideration. So I'll touch on some of those edits that we made following the 60-day review period in just a few slides. But as we continue on through the process, that 60-day review period, we had another community outreach session to get feedback from the public, and we also with the city council. Following all that, we finalized the general plan. We helped staff, and then we arrived at tonight's meeting for formal really consideration of the plan, all to try and get it that 519 date. And the reason for that is that the November 2020 ballot is what we're shooting for. The public has a general plan every 10 years. So in order to get on that November ballot, we have to have this plan approved by council 5 months in. Hence, why tonight and next month in front of council is very important to the overall process. So, what are we planning for? Before we really talk about what the general plan includes, I think it's beneficial to quickly at least review what are some of the key items that we identified in our community assessment that informed our decision making as we updated the general plan. The 2018 census identifies the estimated population for Somerton at 16,491. Now, if we reference the Arizona Office of Economic Opportunity population projections, they project by the year 2040, Somerton will grow to 26,376. So that is one of the key items we certainly look at is how much growth in terms of our population. Other things we look at while we're still looking at data, we're also looking at the external things. The notion that the community has really embraced this idea of being the best little city in Arizona. It's kind of a brand in Somerton. That's something that's noteworthy and was established as the best little city in Yuma County back in the 2010 general plan, and now we've grown to being the best little city in Arizona. Another key indicator about Somerton and its success is it was the third safest city in Arizona. So safety, you'll see in a few future slides, is very important to the residents. Something that we should continue to focus on. So when we notice about the population increase, obviously something that goes along with that, and with housing, we want to understand how many units should we be planning for and where are those units going to be located to meet that 2040 projected population. So when we take the average household size of homes within Somerton, that roughly amounts to 3,244 units that would need to be developed by 2040 to support that population projection. So again, we have to start visualizing what number of units go and what are the best locations and what type of units will those be. Is that multifamily or single family or attached, townhomes, condos, etc. So all beneficial information to consider. Something to put it into perspective is if we look at an average annual increase of housing units, that's adding 141 homes per year up to that 2040 number. So again, just the context, something that we want to consider to be prepared for that type of growth. Is looking at how can we account for approximately 140 housing units within Somerton. But housing isn't the only thing that's important. Economic growth and specifically employment growth is also a consideration for a healthy, well-balanced community. So we also looked at the projected employment growth for Somerton. And it only projects out to 2032. But that projection identifies will likely see up to 914 jobs within Somerton. So we want to balance with how are we planning for appropriate locations to support that job growth. And even within that, you'll see a few what type of jobs may that growth generate so that we identify proper locations for those potential jobs or those potential employers, I should say. There certainly is strong support for a high school facility. There continues to be desire for entertainment and commercial and retail options, which kind of translates to support for downtown development. And then look into the infrastructure of the community to support jobs and housing. We need to continue to expand our infrastructure system as well as our parks and recreation facilities. So that was just a quick snapshot of the assessment and some of the data and key outcomes. But because this plan has to be adopted by the residents and and the community is focused on supporting the needs of the residents to create a high quality of life. Making sure we listen to the public and hear their needs is very vital to the general plan overall. So we conduct outreach to gain a better understanding of what's important to residents. So one, we had a staff summit to hear from Somerton staff and some of the issues and ideas that they've been working on. We had a tour of staff so that we could see some of those locations in person. We conducted stakeholder interviews with key decision makers as well as in some of the initiatives that they're working on. We met with the General Plan Advisory Group to kind of pull together some key members of the community to kind of have a more insight about the future of Somerton. We had 2 community workshops, and we also conducted an online survey and mapping, which was unique. It's something that is not widely used across the state, but it's a way that we were able to not only have a survey what people think about Somerton, but have a map where people can place pins and show us geographically within the community areas that might be. And then, as I mentioned before, we conducted our 60-day review period where we addressed specific comments.
Ma'am, I have a question.
Feedback we heard through that process, it was
Matt.
pull the values out of the current vision and value statement and ask residents to rank those. And we see that
Matt.
a safe community, a great sense of community and economic development are some of those foundational qualities that supported the foundation and vision of Somerton.
Hello, Matt, can you hear us?
What are the key phrases that they think of when they consider Somerton? And here's some of the words that most frequently residents thought about their perspective of Somerton. Can everyone still hear me?
Yes, Matt,
Okay, great.
we have a question from the chairman of the commission.
I'm sorry, Sal.
We have the chairman has a question for you, Matt. I'm going to relay the question over to you. What's your question?
No, I was just curious on,
Apologize.
what was the community response on the community workshops? Was there a lot of community members on it?
They want to speak, they're gonna have to come down and speak to it on it. We can't hear.
So Matt, the question by Chairman Flores is if we had a pretty robust public response when we had the open houses and the community participation workshops, and what issues were the people mostly concerned about at these events? Did you hear that, Matt? Maybe this mic doesn't work.
He should be able to hear you. Can you not hear you?
Hello, Matt?
Can everybody else hear you?
Can the rest of the commission hear me? Commissioner Magaña, Commissioner Sendejas? Can the rest of the commission hear me?
Raul,
Yes.
perhaps I know a little bit for future consideration. I know that the commissioners there obviously can hear, see, but it might be worthwhile to have them call into the Zoom number. Then they would all be able to be talking, to share their feedback just like all of us participating, even though they're in the room. Then you don't have to put mics on all of them.
Do you want me to do that? I'll call from the phone. No issues in the phone, right?
That's certainly something to consider, Matt. Well, actually, if you can hear me now, Matt, the question from the chairman was was about the community workshops and the open houses.
Sorry, you'll have to come closer to the mic. Apologize.
I don't know if I can get any closer.
Try speaking to a speaker.
There you go. That works. Can you repeat the question now?
Okay, is that better?
Oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
How about it? All right, Matt. The question from the chairman of the commission was related to the community open houses and the community workshops that we had, and his question was if we had a robust turnout and what were the principal issues that the people were expressing concern about or interest, and just what your thoughts were on that.
I actually was going, I'll just be getting to those on the next few slides from the community. So if you could just bear with me, I think some of those results will come out in the next few slides.
Sounds great, thank you. You can carry on.
Okay, not seeing anyone at the podium with
Yes, that's a good answer, Matt, and we'll wait for the slide. You can carry on. Was the response from the chairman?
Okay. So yes, these next few slides will kind of give us an analysis of the generalized feedback that we heard from, not only through surveys, but also through the community workshops and some of the GPAC meetings. So one of the things that we also posed to participants in the community workshop recruits in Somerton. So the previous slide talked about what are the values, what are the that are key to the continued success of Somerton. But here we're looking at what is it that we need to build on. And you can see a lot of different types of responses, but the top three responses dealt with residents really wanting to see more overall dining shopping options, continuing to support the safety of our community, and advocating for the downtown, as well as employment opportunities. So from there, we also wanted to focus on which of the following describe Somerton's most important transfer that needs to be addressed. And again, here we had quite a few different types of feedback, but the top 3 or 4 on pass-through traffic, the conditions of roads, parking availability, specifically in the downtown, and pedestrian amenities. Obviously, the responses to these start to give us a sense of areas that we may want to consider when we're identifying goals and policies within the general plan elements themselves. We certainly believe, and there is a trend within communities that it's beneficial to look at the health and how communities can plan accordingly to provide a more healthy, high-quality environment for residents to raise their families. So we asked, what is most needed in Somerton to improve the health of you and your family? And the top three were healthier food options, so preferring to see increased access to fresh fruits and vegetables, so less fast food options and more ways to buy fresh produce and overall. Job opportunities. So jobs isn't often considered part of health, but when we have stable employment within households, that creates opportunities to have better health care, to have better food options, and to promote healthier habits in terms of and other important daily routines. So job opportunities is important to see that the residents recognize connection to health. And then obviously recreation facilities and opportunities to recreate rounded out the top three. Which of these trends would you like to see Somerton support in the future? We wanted to pose some very forward our feedback to today, but also ones that we're seeing across the nation and across Arizona in terms of trends that are becoming more prevalent. And one of those is smart city technology. So hence tonight, looking at e-government opportunities and ways to more mobile in terms of how we provide our government services and automation of services, telecommuting and mobile networks. So looking at internet connectivity within the city, and then sustainability and green energy. Still looking at the importance of our environment and protecting the sustainability of nature and the wildlife within the community. So with that, that kind of speaks of the public feedback. Within the overall entire project timeline, we had visit the website and attend or visit some of our booths, one that we had at the Corn Festival. But as far as attending physically at the community workshops, they were much less attended than some of those community events where we saw maybe a dozen or so people at our first community workshop and only a handful at our second workshop. And that really is a trend on these general plans across the state as people are busy with work-life balance. Attending has become more challenging. So that's why we offer those online resources of participating in the survey and the next that out. So all of that information we set into preparing that 60-day review draft that I mentioned. We didn't really make a lot of changes to the overall vision and values that exist in the current general plan because as you saw, the public really identified values that have served Somerton over the last 10 years are really applicable and appropriate to continue to serve Somerton over 20 years. So we really just fine-tuned the vision and wordsmithed it a little bit to continue to allow for a great sense of cultural diversity and heritage, ensure that safe community that has excellent schools, that recognizes our agricultural roots, jobs, promotes entrepreneurship and quality growth over excessive growth. Looks at the new high school as being key to the community, offers recreational opportunities, and focuses on revitalizing its existing vision statement and values that drive the creation of the goals and policies that I'll be touching on the next few slides. So within the general plan is that forward-looking then we identify goals, and those goals establish what are the actions that we're going to do to that vision. And goals are then supported by even a higher level of policy that are specific efforts to support each goal. So rather than go over all goals and all policies, I just pulled out the goals themselves to highlight. In our land use elements, we have specific land use goals that focus on creating and preserving that strong local agricultural economy, strengthening the downtown, social development, and certainly continuing the mission of the Army Corps Yuma. Within growth areas, we have one defined growth area within Somerton, and the goals associated with that. Coordinated planning within this area so that we don't have leapfrog development and that we don't over extension of our infrastructure, and that we can grow our infrastructure in an economically sound way to encourage efficiently planned development. So again, that's maintaining the compact development pattern that we see in the city to make infrastructure more efficient again, but also make the community more walkable and encouraging a higher quality. Goals that improve safety and reliability of all transportation modes, provide and maintain a comprehensive multimodal transportation system, and then provide a transportation quality and prosperity of the city. Within our neighborhood, certainly Somerton has some the foundation and core of the town. So we want to make sure that we're not mostly focusing the general going to do about new development. We also want to consider about existing development. So we want to maintain and preserve Somerton's community of sustainable. Make sure that we provide them tools to continue to update certain within those neighborhoods as they get older. We want to maintain the quality of housing across all income levels, looking at specific grants and other opportunities that we can assist these neighborhoods in making any possible as these communities age. And then certainly the other aspect is preserve some of its historic character. There's a lot of buildings for historic registration, and we know that Somerton's Historic Preservation Group is gaining momentum and within the community, and we want to support those efforts. Parks and open space, certainly something that is important. Is very popular within Somerton, and that's something we heard quite often through our outreach is supporting those youth. So provide and support recreation and community service programs was a key goal. Preserve existing agricultural land uses is a key component. component of that open space portion, and then ensure that community has quality parks in open space. So it's not only acres or locations of parks, but the actual amenities within those parks, we have to make sure we maintain. And that also expanding our parks, but revisiting the ones we have and making sure that the amenities within those are maintained and upgraded as the community. Environmental planning, we have goals focused on promote local and regional efforts to improve noise and air quality. So as you can imagine, quality and noise is a regional issue. It doesn't take stock at the boundaries of the city. So a lot of the issues with that goal are more on a regional basis, of more or less piggybacking some of the efforts that the county is already doing and managing natural resources and supporting sustainable development practices. So that's just being good citizens and making sure that the general plan isn't just solely focused on development, but recognizes the nature that surrounds it, of that to the overall quality of life of residents as well. Water resources, we want to maintain sustainable water, adequate wastewater collection and treatment. Our public facilities and services, so our safety, our fire, our solid waste and other services that the town provides. We want to balance impact of development, provide reliable public facilities and services to residents, create a safe and welcoming environment, and then pays its fair share. So that kind of considers that cost of development component. And then the new element that we added this 2020 general plan is the economic development. An expansion of existing. So, we want to expand the existing businesses, but we also want to look at strengthening down of commerce and culture. But last, we also want to attract new businesses that diversify the local economy. So it's that kind of supporting what is there today, looking at how we can make the downtown more vibrant, and then attracting new business that will add to the employment growth within the community. So I'll stop there just to see if there's any questions about the overall goals.
No questions, thank you, Randy.
All right, thank you, Arturo. If I don't hear any from the commissioners in the chamber, I'll move on to the land use plan. Here's a copy of the land use plan that we provided in the 60-day review draft. There really weren't any modifications in that 60-day review draft to the land use plan. We made some minor edits to update the downtown overlay district and to clarify some of the land use patterns within the community to update just the GIS data. But really didn't make any significant changes for that 60-day review draft. From that 60-day review process, though, so we put the plan down for 2 months and waited for feedback. As you can imagine, we had comments that came from the community through our community workshops. We also had some public agencies respond, like the Yuma County Water Users Association and the Marine Corps Air Station. And then we also had additional comments from city staff as they looked over. And I believe in your commission package you have a detailed summary of these edits that I have listed here. And you also have the updated highlighted version of the plan that shows those specific edits. But in response to review comments. We specifically have various headings and summary tables that we have to up current data that was provided by individuals, or just to make some of the tables consistent or correct some grammatical or information inconsistencies. So some of the tables are updated throughout the document. We captured a summary of the final phase of public. We revised all goals to be numbered for ease of reference. So the 60-day review draft, the goals didn't have any identification. That we would recommend to council. We provided specific identifiers to each goal, so in the future they can be referenced public meetings and by applicants. We reworded a handful of specific goals that included 1.4, which is now goal 2A.4. We also reworded land use goal number 2B now. Removed the land use policy 2.2. Reworded growth area policy 2.3 down. And I'm reading all these to kind of just read them into the minutes to make sure that they're for future consideration as we move to the council. So bear with me here. Updated signal type on page 52. So signal type, traffic signal type, I should say. Planning policy, now policy 5A.7. Reworded neighborhood plan policy 1.10, which is now policy 5.3, which is now policy 5B.3. The updated park and recreation level of in section 6.2. So our 6-day review had some edits that needed to be made to be consistent with the master plan. So we updated that section to make sure those documents are copacetic. Added economic development goal number 10B. As I mentioned before, we provided detailed reference to the Yuma County Water Users Association throughout and made various edits to account for their facilities within the community. We renamed the downtown overlay district, the downtown Senate overlay district, to be consistent with the terminology used in that recent approved overlay. Redesigned plans throughout, and updated all maps to label the canal per the Yuma County Water Users Association request. Also revised the land use plan to reflect the planned high school site planning and supporting to enhance some commercial and employment opportunities and increase residential density in select areas. So I'll show you on the following map, we made some changes. So if you recall, I mentioned we did make really comprehensive land use changes for that 60-day review draft. On feedback, we identified some key areas that could be beneficial long-term, looking 10, 20 years down the line, to promote commercial development to kind of meet that desire for residents for more retail, commercial, and entertainment options. We also expanded employment along Avenue B, which is identified as a future potential corridor as it traverses down to the port of entry number 2. So we kind of enhanced this corridor. And then up in the northern areas of the city limits, we also increased some of the residential density to support a medium density residential, up from low density residential. And again, that's to support some of that projected housing demand areas that might allow for alternative housing types beyond just single family detached, which is something that some residents like Somerton needing a more diverse housing stock to not only support residents, well, really to support residents across a life cycle. So residents that may have moved away from Somerton to go to school, want to move back, but don't have a lot of options in terms of where they can live because there's not a lot of multifamily or entry-level housing types. And then there's also a few Honda type of products that maybe older residents who don't want to take care of the yard or looking for something with less maintenance, but still want to stay in Somerton. More options for that to diversify the housing stock. So that kind of identifies some of those specific land use changes that were made, planned for the current proposed planning commission draft. Those changes were presented to the Marine Corps Air Station, and they identified that they had no issues with that. So that really concludes, I know there's a lot of information all at one time. That kind of concludes the summary. I'll open it up to questions, or if there's no questions, we can open it up to the public hearing to see if there are any residents that have questions. But just as a reminder, following the Planning Commission action, we then will go to City Council on May 19th. And following a decision by them, hopefully on the November 3rd general election ballot. So with that, I'll turn it back over to the chairman for any Q&A and or the public hearing itself.
Questions, comments, concerns?
Just a general comment, I like the diversified housing. I think that's very important and something in general lacking.
Yes, I appreciate that comment, and I think it is something, it will be definitely, maybe it's not immediately, there's not a demand immediately for it, but something that long-term will be worthwhile to also possibly attract that type of development given or on the land use line.
I have a question. So is the city moving towards the west? Is that what the purple,
Here?
yeah.
South Korea.
So, really, as you probably know as well as, she probably knows as well as anyone else, is Somerton is impacted by the noise contours and what type of development can occur contours as well as the hazard impact zone. So some of the is grandfathered in. So a lot of the land uses don't really, in terms of residential, don't change. Most of the residential changes in vision of growth is occurring to the north and I'll say west in Somerton. But certainly there are areas and pockets here, Somerton, that still are undeveloped and could be single-family residential. But as far as employment, because of the nature of the land use limitations within the eastern part of Somerton and the identification of the Avenue D as a potential long-term corridor that connects to the port and possible truck traffic coming up through this, it was identified that employment would be, in terms of a long-term view, a better use here. It works with the noise high accident potential zone as well as the corridor, the Avenue D corridor. So the purple you see here is really focused on employment growth. To the west is more of the residential growth.
Thank you.
No, great question. Thank you.
That being said, do we need a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the 2020 general plan update that we have tonight.
Second the motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to ask for roll call motion to ensure that the commissioners that are not present here have the ability to cast their vote, if it's possible.
That's okay.
We have the motions right now, and what I need to do is I need to call every one of you, and then you will give your vote, if it's okay.
So it's been moved by Commissioner Rice and second by Commissioner Head. Roll call vote.
Daniel Flores,
Aye.
Ronald Rice,
Aye.
Lorena Sendejas, Lorena Sendejas,
Are we voting?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Lorena, if you can cast your vote, please.
Aye.
Candelario Rangel,
Aye.
Arturo Magaña,
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you, Matt, for your time and with this new and fine times with this system, so thank you, Commissioners.
thank you, Matt.
Thank you, Carmen. And everyone, I appreciate the time.
Thanks for a great job, well done, Matt.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Likewise, thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
That brings us to update on current projects or summary of current events.
Mr. Chairman, our next regular meeting is scheduled for May 18, 2020. At this time, I don't believe we have any items for the agenda that I can think of, but if we do, we will be having a meeting. Hopefully this time, things change and we're going to be able to have a regular standard meeting where we are all here in the same room. And also other updates that we are working on the 2020 census. We have an invitation out there to fill out the questionnaire for all the residents. We are still on the low side of the self-response percentage. As of today, we are around 17%, when the state of Arizona is at 45%. So we are low as a city compared to other municipalities. We are inviting all the residents to fill out their questionnaires. They can do it either by phone, online, or also in paper, hard copy, that is going to start around June for those residents that have not filled out their questionnaires online or over the phone. We continue working on that. We also have several developments in different stages. We have some subdivisions that are in the construction process. The improvements are being installed as we speak. We have Valle del Sol Phase 3, which is under construction. We also have Valle del Sol Phase 4, which is already built out, and they are already in the process of building homes. We have new residents already moving to this subdivision. We have a couple of townhomes that are under different stages of construction. One is Amanecer Townhomes that is right behind Manuel Chavez apartment off of Somerton Avenue, South Somerton Avenue. It's turning out really, really nice. It's a very good development coming up. As we were just talking about different types of housing, this is a townhome complex that is being built, and there are 20 units that are going to be built. If you haven't had the opportunity, just drive by and take a look at those. The construction is really turning out really good. On the other side, we have another small townhome development that is in the review process. It has already been approved by the commission and council. Staff is reviewing the improvements, everything that is going to be underground prior to the construction of those townhouses. And this is going to be another infill project right here by Spring Street and Musgrove Avenue. So we are going to be seeing some new construction right in downtown pretty soon. And we have, the COVID-19 that has really make it difficult for everybody, not just for the city of Somerton. We are following the regulations and restrictions of the state and also the CDC. So this is the reason why we are having this type of virtual meetings, and unfortunately, I don't know how long it's going to take, but hopefully the next meeting is going to be with less technical difficulties as we move into these new virtual meeting types that we are having. So with that, that's all we have. If you have any questions for staff. Ms. Sendejas, Mr. Magaña, any questions for staff? I can't hear you.
And your staff for, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you and your staff for the hard work on this new general plan. I know it was kind of difficult to get the community to come in. I was in one of your sessions and there was only like a handful of us there. And so thank you very much for all the hard work. You did great. Thank you.
Thank you.
No comments for me, just thank you for everything.
Thank you. That's all we have.
Is there a motion to adjourn? It's been moved and second to adjourn at 7:23. Thank you.